I shot a video a few years ago talking about how to manage hybrid poplars that are past their prime for better deer habitat. Well, I'm back on that property today, and I want to show you what this property looks like now after a few years of regrowth. Alright, so here is the area that we knocked the hybrid poplars down in, and look at all that regen. Wow. It is thick with good native regeneration. So you can see some of these hybrid poplars were past their prime and we did not get stump sprouting off of them. Hybrid poplars are prolific stump sprouters, but if you look right next to it, check that out. Look at the amount of regeneration on that. Now, these were cut a little bit higher because we did this in the winter and it was deep snow. So if you're wondering why it's cut higher, that's literally the reason, is because that's where the snow line was when we cut them. It'd be better to cut them a little bit lower if you can, just to keep that browse at the deer's level a little bit longer, but we still got plenty of browse. It's right in the deer's face. Eventually this is going to outgrow the deer's benefit, but we can reset these bad boys, you know, once it reaches that point with the chainsaw, and let them come back. But the bigger thing we did was just open up the canopy. You can see the hybrid poplars that haven't been cut off in the distance right next to this area. So we got this canopy opened up so we could get good native regen. And I have an absolute smorgasbord of native plants in front of me here. And I even have some oak regen coming, which is fun to see. I did find a few of these where they did sprout back and they died. It's probably just because the tree was on its way out already, had enough energy to kick out some stump sprouts, but then it died back. So we did want them to sprout back. I was hoping we'd get a good handful, and you can see there's plenty of them mixed in, but they're past their prime. You're not going to get that stump sprouting. There's another beautiful oak. I know there's a ton of young oaks in here. You can see it was just chop and drop. That's what we did. Cut trails through it when we were done. But we just wanted to get the hybrid poplars down and let the native plants come back. And it's loaded with a diverse array of native plants. Lots of ash in here. I saw some basswood. Oh, there we go. Basswood right there. I got my hybrid poplars coming back. That one right behind the ash. Got my oak. I'm sure if I walk around long enough, I'll probably see some scattered box elder and other plants like that. But just a little prickly ash. At least it's native. Not the funnest one to have, but fun to see all the diversity popping in here. So instead of leaving them dead or standing and dying standing, we tried to use them, get that energy that was still, here's one right there, still in the root system, and get them to sprout back to add some cover and structure, because they come back fast. And just look at the difference between these two areas. So here's a spot that hasn't been cut yet. I mean, it's definitely got filtered sun coming in, so there's some shorter regrowth coming in here, but for the most part, imagine what this looks like in the fall or winter. And it's wide open spaces. Now, look at that. Like a very, very stark contrast. This edge is a little lighter, but watch when I zoom in. Like, look at all that. That's what we want. This property needed cover. By getting those hybrid poplars cut, put cover right in the deer's face. One thing to note with these hybrids is it is mostly stump sprouting. Now when I'm cutting like quaking aspen or big tooth aspen, those don't stump sprout. these hybrid poplars, it is pretty much all, I'd say 95% of your regrowth is stump sprouts. Now I did find some, like that is definitely hybrid poplar regrowth. So you get a little bit of sprouting. Oh, there's a little bit right there off the root system. But expect most of your regen to come right from the stumps. Now if I wanted to plant these back, these grow really, really well from cuttings. So what I would do is take this stem right here, that 2-year-old growth, cut it into about a 2-foot cutting, stick it 1 foot deep. And these are very easy to propagate via cuttings. So if you ever want to add some hybrid poplars to your property, see if you can find some that are growing nearby that have been recently cut. And they're really, really easy to grow just via cuttings. And the ultimate goal with this, not just to, it wasn't just to create deer browse, but to create bedding opportunities, which we got a bed right here. And I'm sure if I pushed my way through the rest of this, I would find plenty of other beds. We needed cover on this property. This was an easy way to do it. Reset the hybrid poplars. I'm trying to slowly pick my way through this and finding even more beds. There's a really nice big bed right there, and right next to it, a bed right here. All over in here. Even having these down rotting trees is not a bad thing, because these poplars break down so fast it's easy for the deer to walk right over top of them. Look at that, another bed right there. Awesome. But they can walk right over top of them, and they rot into the soil, which is good for the health of the soil. So not a big deal just to chop and drop. If you have a logger that'll take them out, that's totally fine. But it is fun. I know this whole thing is loaded with beds. I drive by this place on my way to work in the fall, and I see deer coming up into here all the time crossing over the highway. So absolute deer mecca for habitat. Kind of in the middle of it now. I came up on this spot. I could see these taller elms right here. I just had a feeling there was going to be a deer bed next to them with a little bit of different type of structure in here. And check that out. Nice bed right next to that elm. Deer will hone in on something different in bedding areas, and I haven't seen much for elms, but I got a few right here, and clearly one deer took notice. What a cool little spot in the middle of this very dense cover. Remember, this was wide open spaces 3 years ago. Watch the original video. There was not a lot to this area. I mean, this is premier deer habitat. It just took a little bit of chainsaw work. Another big deer bed. A little bit more of an open spot. Definitely a broken record, but yeah, this area is loaded. Put habitat in a deer's face and they'll respond. Yeah, wouldn't you know it, another deer bed. One beautiful thing is I have not seen much for invasives, but do got a little bit of honeysuckle coming right next to this bed. I have not seen honeysuckle get out of control in our area of Minnesota, so I don't put it high on my priority list. Of course, I always like natives over non-natives, especially ones deemed invasive. But at least the deer do eat it. So buckthorn is the #1 priority. That's what I target. And if honeysuckle gets bad enough, then we can look at eradicating it. And of course, if it's just light in this area, eventually in 50 to 100 years, maybe it'll get really bad. But as of right now, buckthorn is the priority. Even on this property, there's a little bit of buckthorn. So I prefer the landowner target that first, and then eventually worry about the honeysuckle. But nice deer bed right next to the honeysuckle. All right, we'll do one last look here. Just getting in the middle of this thickest spot. We cut this. This is kind of the top side of a gently sloping ridge top with these hybrids. I mean, look at that. It is awesome to see that regen, and I love seeing those hybrid poplars sprout back. Yeah, they are kind of a short-lived tree. But if you're not scared of maybe coming back at the 7 to 10 year mark and resetting them with your chainsaw, the ones that are still alive by then, it really, I mean, even just cutting these mature ones down was not tough work. It's tough work when I guess we had 2 feet of snow on the ground, but when they're in rows like they are, it's easy to cut. But it's just nice to give way to all this other native stuff that is coming back. There's an absolute pile of ash in here, but I know there's plenty of other good native plants. So that is the update. Loaded with cover in here. Just had to get rid of the hybrids, or at least cut them down. They're still growing. That beautiful one right there, or this one right here. All right, you all take care. God bless.